Hello and welcome to part 17 of this Let's Play Modded Skyrim on Master Difficulty. We have just made it out of Bleak Falls Barrow. That was a real trial because I think I died round about 3 or maybe even 4 times while I was in there. That's somewhat of a record for a beginner or novice dungeon, but I'm glad I'm out. I have picked up a dragon stone from the Draug Overlord, who was the boss of that area. I have also got the golden claw, which I can give back to Lucius Varius, who is the Riverwood trader. I have also picked up some hide armour of conjuration, which is going to be quite a valuable item, along with 2 staffs of fury, which I could sell for a lot of money. Hopefully I'll be able to make myself another backpack or bandolier. I'm dumping most of my stuff. I am going to go stark naked because I don't need a lot of things. The quest items fortunately don't weigh anything, they weigh naught. I have 2 linen wraps, they weigh a lot, they weigh 3 each, but I want them for making cloaks. I want at least 1 cloak, so I need those ones. I can get rid of anything else. Arrows don't actually weigh anything in this mod. That would be a really good way of debuffing arrows. If you had a weight attached to them, if they weighed £1 each, then you couldn't carry too many arrows around. They would be a really precious resource, and you couldn't carry 50 of them around. I might look into a mod that does that. What that will do for me is it will stop me spamming people with arrows. That's my main fighting technique at the moment, the arrow spam. I think that the dungeon difficulty is set quite well. That dungeon was pretty tough. I died quite a few times. I found the enemies quite challenging. No need to increase the difficulty. I will eat my way through a few of these alchemy ingredients. What eating alchemy ingredients does, it gives you the first value of the ingredient, it tells you what it does, and it also boosts your alchemy skill a little bit. At the moment my alchemy skill is such that I pretty much don't recognise any of the ingredients and I can't make any potions. So munching my way through random ingredients sounds like the best deal. I'll just drink some invisible wine as well. I don't think people should comment on when Khajiit are naked, because when they're covered in fur you can't tell. They just look like normal cats. It looks more ridiculous having a Khajiit wearing underwear. It looks like you've got a cat with a nappy on. Doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm going to head back to Riverwood, back to complete my quests, and hopefully I'll need to find a bed for the night. Even though now it's noon, it looks very bright, so it looks like sometime early in the day. I will need some sleep, otherwise I'm going to suffer. This is Anice's cabin. Unfortunately the bed is owned, so I can't sleep in it. I don't really know what Anice does. I did wander up to her before.
I get so lonely out here.
You get lonely, oh. Well, who cares? You don't say anything, that's why people don't want to hang around you. Some of the alchemists. This doesn't boost your alchemy skill. Seems to be a poem. And it seems to be a Dwemer king who selects 2 candidates to build potions for him. These potions are supposed to be making him invisible. But it doesn't work very well. Well, actually what it is, I never realised this before, but this is an ingredients book. It tells you a recipe for boosting your intelligence, and it tells you a recipe for making you invisible. That's very clever. Never realised that before. I confess that I used to cheat. All I used to do was look it up online, and then I'd magically be able to know what ingredients fit together. It would be nice if there was an alchemy randomizer. That would be really good. You could have a random assortment of potions, a random way of making potions each time you loaded up the game. That would be a mod that I definitely would endorse.
Yes? I'm collecting ingredients to bring to the gourmet. He'll think my tastes so refined when I offer them to him. You have heard of the gourmet? You've not heard of the gourmet? Author of Uncommon Taste? He is a wizard with a spatula. Well, not an actual wizard, but his recipes are legendary. You know, I've heard the gourmet is in Skyrim right now.
The book, The Uncommon Taste. Again, I haven't read that. I think
Yes.
I'll be able to find that in most of the general stores, so if I get a chance I will perhaps buy that and have a look. Maybe there's a quest attached to Balbus that I don't really know about. That's a telltale sign there was a mod here, because there's a gap in the ground. I can see Riverwood ahead of me. Fortunately, I don't mind too much getting wet. If you've ever played with mods, you might have heard of this mod called Frostfall. What that does is it makes you getting wet have an effect on you. Too difficult though, to be honest, and it causes a lot of errors. Back I am in the Riverwood Trader. Here's Lucian
The
Valerius.
sooner you find the claw, the sooner our lives can get back to normal. You found it! There it is! Strange. It seems smaller than I remember. Funny thing, huh? I'm gonna put this back where it belongs. I'll never forget this. You've done a great thing for me and my sister.
At least he's quite happy that you did that for him. He does give you quite a lot of gold as well.
Thank you so much for taking care of those thieves. The Riverwood Trader is back to the way it used to be. Trinkets, odds and ends, that sort of thing.
Whenever you complete a quest for something, for someone in this game, you get access to some of the things they own. So this Lucian Valerius fellow, even though he rewards you with gold, he actually gives you stuff for free. Because if you look around his shop, the iron dagger and the iron sword and some of the gold on the counter, they actually change from owned items to items that you can take. I'll sell the book Thief to him. I need to lighten everything up. I don't need the Copernant circlet. They're only worth 8 gold, that's barely anything. It's a bargain. Tempted almost to sell my Imperial sword. I don't think I'll need the hide armor of conjuring. I'm not a conjurer. I'll keep the lockpicking braces though. I'm also half tempted to steal what he's got on the counter and sell it back to him. I wonder if these things regenerate.
Hey the way you walk around at home is your own business. When you're at
Yes,
home...
this is it. I'm naked. But who cares? I've got fur.
Whatever you need. You looking for a new blade?
What I do want to buy from him is leather so I can make myself a bandolier that I lost. I also...
Looking to protect yourself or deal some damage?
I also, before he rudely interrupted me, I also wanted to make myself a cloak. I need 5 pieces of leather, and I think I need 5 leather strips and 2 assorted buckles to make myself a bandolier. Kind of weird that I've remembered all that. Assorted buckles actually weigh 0.1 instead of 1, which is a steel ingot, so they're well worth changing over because they weigh a lot less and are a lot more useful as well. Now I just have to consider what colour cloak I want. I don't want anything that looks too outrageous like a bright red cloak, so what I think I will go for is a boring, disgusting brown cloak, which is what I think you'd make if you decided to make a cloak out of rotting mummy bandages, which is what I've done. I also need to make myself some pouches. I am very tempted to make myself as many pouches as I can. I don't think there's any movement penalties if you've got loads of pouches, but I think I'll get a bandolier again, unoriginal, but they look good and they've got a decent amount of carry capacity. Now let's see how that all looks on my character. I don't look too bad at all. Nice brown cloak. There's some clipping issues with the quiver on my back. What my character needs now is it needs to desperately
Whatever you need.
get some sleep.
Why you smear if it's simple and strong.
And then I can boost up my encumbrance, and what I think I'll do next is I'll finish Gerda's mission. If you remember Gerda, she asked us to go and seek out the Jarl, tell him that a dragon attacked Helgen. That was round about 2 days, 3 days ago. I've taken my sweet time about it. But I was busy. No excuse for that. When you sleep, you need round about 8-9 hours sleep to get a refreshing amount of sleep. Also, what that will do is that it will help my skill caps so I can level up again. I don't see myself fighting too many monsters on the way to Whiterun. I will need some food again, so again I'll steal her sliced goat cheese. It's quite neat how it divides itself up to 4 goat wedges. I like that. I'll have a full breakfast. Now, I talked on a earlier video about the dragons and the dragon priests, and this is obviously a huge part of this game, and the lore is very important. This lore is relatively new. If you've ever seen or played Morrowind or read any of the books, the dragons have only really recently been introduced to the lore. When we mentioned earlier that the dragons were worshipped by the Nords, in fact most of the animals in the kingdom, like the fox, the rabbit, they were all worshipped because many of the Nords were animal worshippers, much like how some human religions, real religions in the real world, have evolved. They worship animals as well, and they worshipped the animals in order of how powerful they were. So at the bottom you might have the rabbit as the least powerful animal to worship, and at the top you would have the dragons as the most powerful animal to worship. And apparently, looking back, all the Nords worshipped animals in some form or the other. Even were Newsgramor, that is the first Nord king, settled in Skyrim, they still worshipped animals and worshipped dragons above them all. The dragons apparently loved it, unsurprisingly. They embraced their roles as living gods. But they were quite lazy, so they didn't actually rule over men as kings. Instead, they decided to delegate some of the responsibility to the so-called dragon priests. And the dragon priests, in turn, they decided to rule men. And of course, this power was corrupted because these dragon priests became extremely greedy and decided to make slaves from the rest of the population. Just noticed that I can steal a bit of gold from these people. Hope they don't mind. But as the cruelty got too much for men to bear, they decided to rebel against the dragons and the dragon priests. Excellent, I'm not naked anymore, even though I'm wearing ragged robes. Yes, but going back to the rebellion against the dragons, basically the Nords didn't like the dragon priests ruling them, they didn't like the dragons, and then they fought back. Obviously initially though, the dragons, as you know, were quite powerful, as you could imagine anyway, and they utterly defeated the Nords. But obviously, at some point during the past, the Nords managed to turn the tables on the dragons, and somehow they defeated the dragons, they defeated the dragon priests, and sent the dragons packing. They sent the dragon priests back into the barrows to hold themselves up. But how did that happen? And hopefully in Skyrim we'll learn how that happened, because it's an ongoing story. I'll try not to spoil it, even though you've probably played through it before. It's interesting there's no reference between elves and dragons, and dragons seem to be exclusively, initially anyway, part of the Nordic tales. There are some stories regarding a dragon becoming the best friend of Tiber Septim, but I'm not sure how that fits in entirely with the lore. It looks like I can improve my Imperial bow if I use a steel ingot. Thankfully there's one around that I can steal, and that takes my Imperial bow up to damage rating of 18, and that's round about the same as a normal Orcish bow. That's pretty good. This game is pretty good for explaining what happens to the Nords. So you get to find out a bit about the background of Tiber Septim, which we found out and discussed in an earlier Let's Play. You also get to find out about the first High King of Skyrim, Whiterun, and you also get to find out a bit about the Underking, who was a major character in Daggerfall. What's interesting about all of this is that all of this lore was anticipated. The part about the voice and the Greybeards, you could actually find books about it in Morrowind, and Morrowind came out almost or round about 10 years ago, and so all this storyline had already been written. Originally though, I think this World of Elder Scrolls, it was actually designed as a role-playing game that the players at Bethesda decided to play on their lunch breaks. They then decided to convert it into a proper game, and I'm certainly glad that they did. Our character Kat now is taking the North Road, walking up to Whiterun, which is the major hold capital. Whiterun's supposed to be the major trade hub of Skyrim. It's landlocked, there's no port, but apparently it's right in the centre, and all roads lead to Whiterun. So you should see evidence of a particularly rich city, and one that's very culturally diverse. At the start of the storyline, Whiterun is a sympathiser towards the Imperials. There are factions within Whiterun that support the Stormcloaks. Notably, there's one family called the Battleborn who are Imperial sympathisers, and there's one family called the Greymanes who are Stormcloak sympathisers. There are a few side quests around this. That's apart from the major Civil War storyline. I think I do have sympathy for the Nords in this, because to me the Imperials seem like a complete waste of space. The Imperials back in Daggerfall and back in the lore were actually a very strong faction. Well, actually in Daggerfall you didn't really hear very much about them. In Arena, when Yagar Tharn had the throne, you did have a sense that the Imperial throne did actually rule the entire of Tamriel. But as the games have progressed, the Imperials have become weaker and weaker. I've never actually been in Holymead Brewery before. I don't know if there's anything worth going into at the moment. Yes, but the Imperials in Morrowind seem to be quite powerful. They had forts all over the place, and their NPCs were really strong, and they seem to have a load of influence. In Oblivion though, when you were in Cyrodiil, the NPC Imperial guards were still quite strong, but you had a feeling that Cyrodiil still wasn't under their control. You had all these ruined forts all over the place. Hang on, I can see a giant ahead, and arrows whizzing over my head as well. So there's a giant wandering around a potato farm, and as you do, I'm going to get my sword out, and I'm going to try and hack away at its ankles. Fortunately it's not facing me, otherwise I'd be obliterated right now. At least I'll train my one-handed skill to do that. Actually killing the giant grants you a bit of a different dialogue with the companions, as you'll probably see. They treat them differently.
You look strong.
You handle yourself well. You could make for a decent shield, brother. An outsider, eh? Never heard of the Companions? An order of warriors. We are brothers and sisters in honor. And we show up to solve problems if the coin is good enough. Not for me to say.
I was tempted
You'll
to
have
say
talk
it was
to
going to be a
Cardlack
waste of
Lightning up
time,
in Jorvaskar.
but
The
I
old
want to
man's
join
got
the
a good
companions at
sense
some
for
point in the
people.
future.
He can look in your eyes and tell your worth. If you go to him, good luck.
Getting tired of hanging around talking
so
all
tall.
day.
The companions in this game are pretty much equivalent to the Fighters Guild, except they harbour a bit of a badly kept secret. You get Radiant quests off them, and there's also a single companion's quest line to
Thinking
go
I
on.
need to train some more.
That dialogue of, you know, that comes from the ultimate follower overhaul. So if they're a follower of
Lot on the
yours, you
wind
can
today.
talk to them.
Good hunt ahead of us.
I must come up to people's knees. This is another nice mod. It's called Whiterun Market. and all it is a few more buildings outside Whiterun that give it a lot more character. The modders obviously put a lot of effort into it because it does look good. There's NPCs attached to it, there's market guards so you can't just steal everything, and what you get in the market isn't overpowered either. They've made a real effort with the stalls, so it does fit in with the whole scheme, and what they sell at the stalls also seems like what you would find in a normal market anyway. Definitely well recommended. I haven't played it through the Civil War game, so I don't know what happens when the Civil War's on.
They say Helgen got hit by a dragon. One of those horrors comes here. We'll be ready. Brigands I can handle. But this talk of dragons? World's gone mad, I say.
That was one of the market guards. You'll notice the guards also look a lot better because they don't have those stupid helms that cover their entire face. I've selected the fully open helmets for the guards so you can see their different faces. There's normally a Khajiit caravan around here somewhere. I wonder if they treat my Khajiit any differently.
City's closed with the dragons about. Official business only. Fine. But we'll be keeping an eye on you.
I have no idea why they're so unfriendly to me. I have improved my speechcraft by trying to persuade him anyway. I'm sure I could have selected any dialogue option I wanted, but if I select a persuade or an intimidate function,
I just can't fill an order that size on my own. Why don't you swallow that stubborn pride of yours and ask Yorland Greymane for help?
I'd sooner bend my knee to Ulfric's Stormcloak. Besides, Greymane would never make steel for the Legion.
Have it your way. I'll take the job, but don't expect a miracle.
Damn those Greymanes to oblivion. They want to back the Stormcloaks, they'll get what's coming to them.
Spare coin for a poor
apologies,
beggar.
I missed out a bit of the NPC dialogue there, but basically you get the feeling that the Battleborns do not like the Greymanes. And you know their allegiances as well. But yeah, what I was saying before about the intimidate and persuade options, you might as well use them because they train your speechcraft. If you don't use them, you don't improve your speechcraft, so there is no point in choosing another option, and very rarely do they offer any different dialogue.
Only burglars and vampires creep around after dark. No lollygagging. I'll take my leave then.
Nice to talk to you too. I don't want to become a vampire. I'm quite happy being a burglar, thank you very much. So this is the palace of the Jarl, Dragon's Reach. It's an essential quest location. You do get to fast travel here if you're extremely lazy, but I'm not going to. I know it's a bit of hassle going up and down the stairs, but it does add to the atmosphere.
My lord, would you have me do that? You have to listen. My lord, please.
It looks like the
I just think we need more
bodyguard's coming after me, so I'm just gonna sneak around. Look at that, I'm just
Who's
avoiding
this,
you. Not a very good bodyguard at all.
Well, I trust you have something vitally important to tell me. Important enough to interrupt me in the middle of council? Gerda owns the lumber mill, if I'm not mistaken. Pillar of the community, not prone to flights of fancy. And you're sure Helgen was destroyed by a dragon? This wasn't some Stormcloak raid gone wrong? Really? You're certainly forthright about your criminal past. But it's none of my concern who the Imperials want to execute. especially now. What I want to know is, what exactly happened at Helgen? I should have guessed Ulfric would be mixed up in this. What do you say now, Proventus? Shall we continue to trust in the strength of our walls against the dragon?
Proventus is some sort of Imperial advisor. He looks like an Imperial.
It's in the most immediate danger. If that dragon is lurking in the mountains.
It's a provocation. He'll assume we're preparing to join Ulfric's side and attack him.
Enough! I'll not stand idly by while the dragon burns my hold and slaughters my people. Irileth, send a detachment to Riverwood at once.
Yes, my Jarl.
If you'll excuse me, I'll return to my duties.
That would be best.
The leather armor that Irilith
Well
is
done.
wearing looks
You
pretty
sought
good.
me out on your own initiative. You've done Whiterun a service, and I won't forget it. Here, take this as a small token of my esteem. There is another thing you could do for me. Suitable for someone of your particular talents, perhaps. Come, let's go find Farengar, my court wizard. He's been looking into a matter related to these dragons and rumors of dragons.
So he gives me a present. He gives me some Imperial armor, which is not bad because all I've got is ragged robes because I had to dump my fair armor. I just come up to his bum. Rubbish.
Farengar, I think I found someone who can help you with your dragon project. Go ahead and fill him in with all the details.
So the Jarl thinks you can be of use to me. Oh yes, he must be referring to my research into the dragons. Yes, I could use someone to fetch something for me. Well, when I say fetch, I really mean delve into a dangerous ruin in search of an ancient stone tablet that may or may not actually be there.
So he's referring.
You are eager to begin your adventure. Excellent. The sooner begun, the sooner done, eh? I, learned of a certain stone tablet said to be housed in Bleak Falls Barrow. A dragon stone, said to contain a map of dragon burial sites. Go to Bleak Falls Barrow, find this tablet, no doubt interred in the main chamber, and bring it to me. Simplicity itself.
Referring to the Dragonstone. You can't actually see or read the Dragonstone if you click on it.
You already found it. You are cut from a different cloth than the usual brutes the Jarl foists on me. You'll have to see the Jarl about that. Maybe his steward Avenici. I'm sure one of them will pay you appropriately.
Yep, all I want is money.
Farengar.
I hear Irilith in the background.
Farengar, you need to come at once. A dragon's been sighted nearby. You should come too.
A dragon? How exciting. Where was it seen? What was it doing?
I'd take this a bit more seriously if I were you. If a dragon decides to attack Whiterun, I don't know if we can stop it. Let's go.
Well, I'm very nice, so I think I'll help them. Even though I've completed 3 quests in 3 days.
The Western Watchtower?
Yes, my lord.
Tell him what you told me about the dragon.
Oh, that's right. We saw it coming from the south. It was fast. Faster than anything I've ever seen.
What did it do? Is it attacking the Watchtower?
No, my lord. It was just circling overhead when I left. I never ran so fast in my life. I thought it would come after me, for sure.
Good work, son. We'll take it from here. Head down to the barracks for some food and rest. You've earned it. Irileth, you'd better gather some guardsmen and get down there.
I've already ordered my men to muster near the main gate.
Good. Don't fail me. There's no time to stand on ceremony, my friend. I need your help again. I want you to go with Irileth and help her fight this dragon. You survived Helgen, so you have more experience with dragons than anyone else here. But I haven't forgotten the service you did for me in retrieving the Dragonstone for Farengar. As a token of my esteem, I have instructed Avenici that you are now permitted to purchase property in the city. And please, accept this gift from my personal armory.
I should come along. I would very much like to see this dragon.
You basically get a very low grade
afford to risk
random
both of
magic item off him.
I need you here working on ways to defend the city against these dragons.
As you command.
One last thing, Irileth. This isn't a death or glory mission. I need to know what we're dealing with.
But
Don't worry,
we
my lord.
will have to go
I'm
and
the
fight
very
this dragon
soul of
next,
the
so this is about time to wrap this one up.